Hello, it's RPGaDay, day 15, August 15th, 2024. So what are we on the list? What's on the list today? Today it's great character gear. Man, that's a hard one to think of, just like gear in general. I think every role playing game has gear, just about, not all of them. Some games that kind of abstract it. As much as I like simple games and simple rule sets and trying to keep his rules as simple as you can make them and still get kind of what you want out of the game, something that sort of always I enjoy is when the gear you choose matters. So like when one of the things I'm not as fond of, even though I like some of the rules light kind of new SR style games, is when they just say you can have a hand weapon. Small weapon does 1d6, a medium weapon does 1d8, a large weapon does 1d10, and there's really no difference between whether that, small weapon is a hand axe or a mace or a short sword. I get sort of the idea it's just narrative, it's just descriptive, and if you want to lean into that, I think that's cool, but I still like a little crunch. I still want, the type of armor, the type of weapon, the type of, in a more modern or future setting game, the type of handgun or blaster or communications device. I like those to matter. If it gets overly crunchy, it becomes overwhelming. But there's probably a happy medium for me in there somewhere. I know games where I enjoy looking at the sort of the equipment available outside of kind of fantasy. I really like kind of what Traveler does. You've got everything from personal gear up through ships and vehicles and robots and things like that. So that's pretty cool. But and something I appreciate, as I mentioned in my reviews of Tales of the Valiant, is that they've sort of tried to give different types of weapons something extra, so that maybe you do have two weapons that do the same damage, say like a short sword versus a mace, but then that there's some other thing you can do with that weapon based on whether it's a stabbing weapon, a slashing weapon, a bludgeoning weapon, things like that. So I kind of like that little addition into the game there. But really what I thought about as I was really thinking about what I think I most appreciate, I've come to appreciate, independent of gear, is sort of a related topic of inventory management. And I don't think there's any prompts that really get into inventory management that I'd be stealing from for today. So I really come to like the slot-based system that you see in Into the Odd, Cairn, Knave. Does Into the Odd use, or does the slot system come from Knave? And I can't remember. Cairn gets that from one of the two places, and I can't remember which one it is. But you see, you've got optional slot-based inventories like in Old School Essentials. I think that does a good job of sort of simplifying, how much it helps kind of contain that, hey, you can't walk around with infinite amount of gear the way you might in a video game. Maybe not modern video games may do a little better job, but I remember like playing Icewind Dale and Baldur's Gate, and just the ridiculous amount of equipment that you could stack into a character's inventory. And it was based on weight. You could eventually get so much weight that it would burden them down, but there was no sort of differentiation for size. So a halberd took up as much space in your inventory as a sling. So I kind of like the way that some of the more modern slot-based inventories sort of say, okay, items of a certain size are going to take up 2 slots, and so it's not just about the weight. It's about how much space it takes up. I mean, how many things can you put in a pocket, slip into a backpack, sling over your shoulder, and still be able to move around and function, right? So I think I like the slot-based inventory systems that have started to emerge again from kind of the OSR, new SR sphere. And something I came up with, and I'm not the first person to come up with this, so I don't want to act like this is a revolutionary idea, unless for some reason I am the only person to come up with it, but I'm sure that I'm not, even though I came up with it on my own. And, it's something that I think a lot of people would have naturally come up with. And that is, because I'm using slot-based inventories in the game I'm playing, live at the table. I came up with a party loot system where they can keep track of, they can package the loot they've got into slots, as they acquire it through dungeon crawling or over the course of the adventure, and they can just designate which player. So you have slots, say you get 50 slots on a sheet because it's just a ledger, but they can put you just number it 1 through 50, and once the slots when you start putting things into slots, you say which characters have it, and the character can say I have loot slot 50 on one of my inventory slots on my character sheet, so I know that when I'm starting to get full. I think it gives them an easier way to balance who's carrying everything as they just sort of grab loot and sort of hand it around so everybody can grab a handful or grab a piece of treasure or whatever and get it out of the dungeon or get it to the end of the adventure. So I thought that was a pretty, again I like doing that, and it seemed to work well for the players when I tried it. Somebody can just keep track of. You can be the quartermaster or the bookkeeper for or treasurer for the party, and just say, okay, I'm going to put that loot will go into this slot. Okay, now this slot is full, and I'll go into the next slot. And anyway, seems to be working out pretty well. So slot based inventory, I think, is a good way to manage your gear. Anyway, that's kind of all I have to say for this topic. So I'll be back tomorrow. So until then, take care of yourself and try to make somebody happy today.